welcome to Where's Wilmington? I'm Lisa Capala, and today we're going to take you back to a more gentler, peaceful time in America, and we are actually going to introduce you to what I would call some living history. To my right here, I have Mr. Ben Franklin and his wife, Mrs. Deborah Reed Franklin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
for having us.
So, as one of the founding fathers of early America, Mr. Franklin, or may I call you Ben?
Oh, you may, of course.
Excellent.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about some of the accomplishments that you have seen over your lifespan and some of the things you've done.
Well, there's been many, many accomplishments, of course, but I would say working on the Constitution of America has to take number one.
Absolutely.
And I say that that was my desire to free slavery, and I tried to get that put through in the Constitution. However, the South was not happy about that and losing their slaves and so forth, so they started to walk out of the hall, and I said, please, if you leave now, I'll never get you back. Stay. I'll change a few words here, I'll change a few words there, but if you don't have a constitution, you're not going to have a nation.
True.
And that was hopefully, that's why they came back, and we were able to continue and finally have the Constitution.
Excellent. And I want you to know we are still using the Constitution today.
Oh, I'm certainly happy to know that.
Yes, yes. I'm sure some of it has changed since you began the process, but you know, change is a good thing.
Well, we made some room for changes, of course, as you know, the amendments and so forth.
Excellent. So today in our history, we don't tend to have large families, but I understand that you come from a family of 15 children, is that
17.
right? Really?
Well, I was the 15th child in a family of 17. 10 boys and 7 girls.
Wow.
Yes, that's what I say.
And where were you born?
I was born on 17 Milk Street, over my father's candlestick shop, January the 17th, 1706.
Excellent. Do you think working in the candle shop made you then later on go and look at electricity as a viable means of changing the way we actually see things?
Well, there was a lot of things that could be one of the things that did it, of course. I always had a very inquisitive mind, and I just would look at something and say, this could be better, this could be done better, and so forth. For instance, I used to go swimming with the boys down in Mill Pond in Boston, and they all said I was the best swimmer in Boston. And we were down there swimming one day, and we were taking stones and skipping across the top of the water to see how many skips we could get. And I think some of the boys got 2 and 3. I think I got 4. But my stone went into the reeds and grasses, and out came frogs. And I saw how fast the frogs could swim, and all the boys had said I was the best swimmer in Boston. And I said, why can they swim faster and better than me? I studied the frogs, and I said, I know why now. They have webbed hands and webbed feet, and man does not. I will make webbed hands, I will make webbed feet. And I carved swim fins out of wood, attached them to my hands and my legs, and swam across Mill Pond. The boys jumped up and down and said, look at Ben Franklin go with his swim fins. But one day, when it was windy, I got my kite. You know, I appreciate that kite. It's done a lot for me in my life. I wrapped it around me, and the wind blowing as it would off the ocean there, and I on my back paddling, and I wanted to see how fast I could go. And my goodness, that's when the boys really screamed, and they said, Ben Franklin and his kite and his swim fins, look at him go.
Amazing.
And that was my first invention at the age of 13.
Wow.
And I had over 500 before I got through in my life.
You've even invented the bifocals that you're wearing.
Yes, I did, and I'm wearing them.
Yes.
And there's a reason, too, why because I had 2 pairs of glasses. And I had my shop. This is when I was in Philadelphia. After I left Boston, I had a fight with my brother, James Franklin. That's why I left.
Of course.
Yes. So when I got my own shop and so forth, and I'd be sitting there reading, I read everything. That's why so much the library and the books and everything,
Yes, and
as
I was
you
going
know.
to ask you about that.
Yes. And so I was finding that. And when someone would come into the room, I had a spring with a bell on it, and the bell would ring when somebody opened the door, and I would take off my reading glasses, put on the far away glasses, which was fine so I could see who it was. But One day, 25 men came in. I was doing nothing but taking off glasses, putting on glasses, taking off glasses, putting on glasses. I said, Ben Franklin, this is ridiculous. So I went to the man that made the glasses, and I said to him, I want you to take these 2 pair of glasses, take the lenses out of them, out of the frames, and cut them in half. When you put them back, put the bottom one, the reading part in the bottom, and the faraway part on the top, and where the 2 pieces of glass meet, that's of course very raw glass is going to chip, put beeswax across there, and that should stop them from chipping. But even if they chipped, that little chip of sliver of glass wouldn't get into Ben Franklin's eyes. It would go into the beeswax.
Perfect. That is an ingenious invention, one we still actually use today. Many of the things that you created and invented we still use today. Can you tell me a little bit about your life philosophy, Mr. Franklin? Because I think in our trying economic times, we could use some of your wisdom about money and about being safe with our money. Can you talk to me a little bit about your life philosophy about
I said,
that?
a penny saved is a penny earned. A fool and his money is soon parted. And I came from a poor family. My father was a candlestick maker, and he didn't make much money, and I had tough times myself, and I know what it was. And I said the value of money must be appreciated by people. And I did. I saved money and got my own print shop when I wound up in Philadelphia after I had the argument with my brother. I went to Philadelphia. I saved my money. And it wasn't easy, but I said, I don't need a large apartment. I only need 1 room instead of taking a large one. I also thought of other things that I would do. I was going to the local places and eating, and I was paying money for people to pay to cook my food. And I said, why don't I make sandwiches, bring them to work? But take the money that I was spending there and put it in the bank. And the bank would pay you interest. And as a matter of fact, later on, I wrote my book about the way to wealth was compound interest.
Amazing.
And I was amazed how in life you save. And I saved quite a bit of money. I opened up my own print shop when I was only 22 years of age in Philadelphia.
Wow. Excellent. Now, when did you come up with the idea of the library? And do you think that's because you yourself are a lifelong learner that you wanted to develop the concept of having a library?
Yes, I'll tell you very quickly if I can.
Please do.
My father pulled me out of Boston Latin School. I was getting good marks, A plus, B plus. And he said, you're going to have to come to work in the candlestick shop because I have 17 children, can't afford to keep you there. I said, well, I know, Dad, but I want to be educated. Will you borrow books for me? I'll borrow books, and I will educate myself. And so Ben Franklin did. I read every book I could lay my hands on, and later on in life, I got 3 honorary degrees.
Wow.
And only 2 formal years of education. When I was overseas, they wrote me a letter from a town, Exeter, Massachusetts, and asked me if I would send them money. They wanted a bell. They had changed the name of the town from Exeter, Massachusetts to Franklin, Massachusetts. And I thought about it, you know. I do a lot of thinking, of course.
Yes, of course.
And I thought about it. I wrote them back and I said, you know, I won't send you a bell, but I will send you a library. And I sent them 117 books to start the first free lending library in the entire United States of America. And I'm glad to say right now that there's a plaque on the lawn saying that I did that, and it was the first library in America. And later on, they put a marble statue of Ben Franklin sitting on a bench reading his books. Education, books, 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 read, read, read,
Yes.
the way to success.
That's true. You also were demonstrative in creating a hospital as well, correct?
Yes, I did. The poor people didn't have a hospital in Philadelphia, and I
you
thought,
knew that from coming from a large
oh,
family.
did I
you must
ever?
have seen a
Did
lot
I
of
ever?
sickness and hardship.
And it was along with the other things that I did, I got and started that hospital. I also said you need a volunteer fire department, a volunteer police department, because they didn't have enough money to pay for full wages. Of course, I knew that. And they were using the pumper, and I was watching, and the pumper was not putting enough water on the fire. And I thought, and I said, I think I've got an idea. If those men had buckets of water and they passed them up to each other, they would put more water in the fire. And so that's what I had invented, was the bucket brigade.
So you would say that you saw a problem and then created a solution. You didn't wait for someone else to do it.
Exactly correct.
You didn't need a committee.
Nope.
You just went ahead and did what you felt needed to be done.
I saw what needed to be done, and I did it.
And sometimes almost killing yourself, which your lovely wife, Deborah Reed Franklin,
Twice.
said twice with the lightning, right?
Oh, yes, in Salem Hill in Philadelphia, that's when that happened. You know, I was fascinated with electricity, well, actually lightning, which I called electricity, but nobody would seem to believe me. But I had a man there, and he said to me, after I was talking to some people, I explained that lightning was electricity, and he said, Benjamin, lightning is lightning, it's not electricity, forget it. I said, no, I won't forget it. I believe it is, and what's more, I'm going to prove it. I said, William, come on with me. We're going back to the shop. We're going to get the kite, the key, and we're going up onto Salem Hill, and we're going to fly the kite, and we're going to find electricity. When I got up there, there's a big cloud came, and my son says, what's that cloud, Dad? And I said, it's going to be a thunder and lightning storm, William. Just watch this. And when the cloud came over, of course, the wind put the kite high in the sky because he was thinking about, how can you fly a kite? There's no wind. I says, we'll get plenty of wind. You just take it easy. And up it went and so forth. And then, of course, the rain came, the lightning came, the rain came, and I was getting soaking wet. And when the lightning came, all of a sudden, I had this strange feeling, the feeling of down my hair started to rise. And there was a feeling down my back and my spine. And I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not going to wait, William. I'm letting go of the kite and the key, and off it went. But before I could get it too far away, a bolt of lightning came and struck the key and blew it in a million pieces. But I didn't get killed. I didn't get electrocuted. But I did get knocked down to the ground.
Right.
And I said to my son, William, we're going to do something about this. I'm not going to kill myself. This is crazy. And I built a cage 9 feet tall, and it's in Smithsonian, the original one, and also this one, I understand, in Boston, they tell me.
Yes,
no, and that's
it's a wonderful
science
place.
you
You'll
know.
have to go and see it.
Oh,
while
yes,
you're
it's
here.
shocking and electrifying. Just think of it, you know.
That's true. Tell me what you feel we can learn from all of the things that you've done in your lifetime up to now. What do you feel we as modern day people can learn from you, Ben Franklin, and what you have achieved?
Of course, the answer to that is the past. Don't forget the past. Use the past as a lesson. When something that has gone bad before, gone wrong, then don't make the same mistake. If you keep making the same mistake, that's foolish. Yes. Thrift, of course, is a big thing. I think it's a very important thing, and I think people should watch their pennies.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
they
And
should.
perseverance, too. You know, you keep trying until you get it accomplished,
Oh,
right?
many a man would have succeeded in life, but he quit too soon. Success is when you continue to believe in what you believe in and keep doing it until you succeed. This is what I did.
And you've done pretty well for yourself.
I really can't complain.
And Deborah, how is it for you being married to a man who is so well known? How is that for you?
Oh, he was gone quite a lot.
I bet. I
And
bet.
I passed away in 1774 at the age of 68. So he was in France.
And so Ben Franklin lives on.
Yeah, I
and
lived
a lot
on. She
longer.
died at that age. I didn't die till April 17th.
84 and a quarter.
Yeah, yes, that's right, dear. 1790.
It's a long
Well,
life
you
in
all
those
look
days.
amazing. You both look amazing for all that you've been through. The lightning and the marriages and the 18 kids and all of
Oh.
that. Amazing.
Yes, it is, I
Amazing.
suppose. But we are happy doing what we're doing. And I've always said that if you keep yourself happy and eliminate stress, you'll live a long life.
That's true. Stay with us. We're going to be back with more of Ben Franklin. We're actually going to meet the alter ego of Ben Franklin. We'll switch that around, and it's going to be Dick Elliot and his wife Muriel Elliot. And we're going to meet and talk a little bit about how they became the Franklins. We hope you enjoyed the first part of the show. Stay with us to get a little bit more backstory about the Elliots and why they do what they do. Just fascinating. Stay right with us.
My daughter.
come here.
I love you, Dad.
Hello, welcome back for the second half of Where's Wilmington. If you've just joined us, these folks oddly dressed in period costume next to me are dressed as Ben Franklin and Deborah Reed Franklin. In the first part of the program, we actually had them stay in character for you so you can learn a little bit about the Franklins, Ben Franklin, some of the times that what Ben Franklin created, the different things he invented, a little bit about his life. But now we're going to talk a little bit about Dick Elliot, who is the man who's behind the Franklin costume, and his lovely wife, also Muriel Elliot, who is with us too. So tell me why you decided to become Ben Franklin.
Well, I'll make a quick story out of the beginning of it. I was born in Wakefield, Massachusetts, and I lived on Franklin Street and went to the Benjamin Franklin Grammar School, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. I won the speaking contest in the 5th grade, and my brother, who since has a long time passed away, said, "You're going to acting school, and I'm paying for your acting lessons."
Wow.
And so he did. He was a wonderful brother. And every Saturday I'd go and to my acting teacher and take my acting lessons. And I was in musical productions as locally and so forth like that. And I get bitten by the bug, I guess you'd have to say. And I loved acting so much that I got a job as I got into high school in the Wakefield Theater. And I watched all of the films and the movies. I saw Gone with the Wind 37 times.
Wow.
Yeah, well, being an usher, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And when I was in the service overseas in Japan, we had USO shows come, and I volunteered to do whatever I could do, and met a lot of the actors and so forth. So still wanting to be an actor. When time went on, then came back, Mrs. Franklin and I got married, and so forth. And when time came, they asked me to play Judas in a passion play at the Wakefield Baptist Church, which I did. Nobody wanted the part, so I took it.
Judas, who wants to play that
Yes,
role?
Judas, who wants to play him.
Yes.
But I had 3 soliloquies, which nobody ever wanted to have, and I did them and so forth. And a man who had not gotten to know, whose family had been in motion pictures for years, and he also was in the audience. And he was a friend of mine in a way, but I didn't know his full background. And he said to me, "Dick, you've got to join AFTRA, American Federation of Television Radio Artists." He said, "You've got to do it." So I went up onto Beacon Street in Boston, and way back then, and he didn't tell me it was going to cost $500 either.
Was it $500 then?
Then, yes, you know it's way, way more now.
Right.
Yeah. So I joined and so forth, and I get parts in bit parts in movies, TV, and so forth, and worked my way up and so forth. Then came along the time, and they wanted me. They called me and said they wanted me to be in a motion picture, and I would have to join SAG.
Right.
I've been trying to join SAG.
Yeah.
Which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
That's right. That's right.
I said, "Oh yes, I think I could do that."
Right.
And so I did, and one movie to another and so forth.
Would you say that the Ben Franklin character is your favorite character to play? I know you played Santa Claus too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, Judas, Santa, or Ben. That's kind of a tough choice.
Oh no, Ben is definitely. When I retired, semi-retired, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
I wanted to play Ben Franklin because I had played him on History Channel and so forth, and and besides, everybody said I look like Ben Franklin.
Yes, you do actually. Yes, and Muriel makes all your costumes for you.
She is fantastic.
Wow.
It's no
Yeah, you
question.
really know your stuff, you guys. Like, you know, I had read a little bit about Ben Franklin before you came, and you really, I was going to try to stump you a little bit, but you did very well with all of that.
Yeah.
And I understand you have 5 Ben Franklin costumes?
Yes.
Now, did you research to get as close? Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. How did you find out
Those
what
magazines.
exactly?
Just by looking at the pictures, and
magazines.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, because you've got some button work and things
everything's
like that.
authentic.
You know, yeah.
This is pretty much of a copy of a outfit that Ben wore in court of St. James in France.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it must help when you put the outfit on to sort of transform you into him. What do you feel about him as a person? You've learned so much about him. Do you feel good playing a character that did so many wonderful
Absolutely,
things?
absolutely. He's one of the greatest wonders of America. He really, everything he did well.
Right.
He was a Renaissance man. There's no question about it.
Right, and I don't think that everyone knows that so many things he did. You know, we know the adages, but we don't necessarily give him credit for them.
You don't. It's a shame too. But with the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the peace treaty with England, the alliance with France, he's the only one that signed all 4 documents that make this country great. And when it came to going to France, he borrowed the money, and before he left 3/4 of his personal fortune, and he was a millionaire.
Wow.
Believe it or not, he was.
Well, I
he
guess-
offered to pay for the tea out of his own pocket. He did.
That's amazing.
When he was in England, when they found out that they had dumped the tea, he tried to get them not to have a war, and he says, "I'll pay for the tea." It would have been equivalent back then to $75,000,
Wow.
which a loaf of bread was 1 penny. Look at the buying power. And of course, they refused, and we had the Revolutionary War. But he told them, he said, "I don't believe in war. I've never seen a good war, and I've never seen a bad peace, and I'll pay for the tea myself."
That's good to know. So then he definitely practiced what he preached. He was a man of integrity.
He sure did.
Excellent.
It was wonderful.
Now, you do speaking engagements. Can you
Yes.
tell me a little bit about some of the more fascinating places that you've had a chance to speak to people about Ben Franklin, or portray him, actually?
Well, we've taught all over the United States of America, my wife and I.
Right.
Let's say that first. And overseas in the Air Force bases in Germany, Bitburg, Bornholder, Mannheim, Augsburg, Heidelberg, Simbach, Ramstein, and Spingarten, Air Force
Wow.
Base American kids, and so forth. But I've had some interesting speakings to the printers' unions,
Right?
the FBI.
Really?
Well,
what
they-
did you do for them?
They had a party.
Yes, I would imagine
They wanted
they
Ben
did.
Franklin,
That's
and I had met this man in Boston, and he wanted to know all about me, but I said to him, "I'd like to know a little bit about you." And he says, "Well, I work for the government."
Right.
And that's all I got.
Well, that's good.
But about 3 months later, he calls me up on the phone, and he says, "This is so-and-so from the FBI." And I said, "What did I do?" Oh, he says, "No, we have a party.
Right.
We'd like
This
to have
is a
you
friendship call,
It's a
right?
friendship
We
call.
don't need your face for the new
No, we
treasury
don't.
plates or
Yeah.
anything like that,
Yeah.
right? What's next for you in your life? You say you're semi-retired, but you both seem to be going along quite strongly. What do you want to do
Well,
next?
we love what we do, and that's teaching school children how this country was formed, liberty and freedom, and so forth. That they should know the benefits we have, and the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, and so forth. And but regardless of their age, we do elementary, middle, and high schools all over. And of course, I have speaking engagements with different organizations that call me, and so I've lectured to judges and clerks of court that come from Washington.
Nice.
Try to tell them a few things, you know.
I'm sure you do. Well, I'm sure that goes over better as Ben Franklin than it does as Dick Elliot,
Yeah,
right?
it does. I warned them about this penny saved and a penny earned.
I'll bet
Watch
you
your
did.
spending. Watch your
Yes.
spending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think people are most surprised to learn about Ben Franklin that they didn't know? I mean, I think I knew about the library and the bifocals and the kite, but what other things are people most surprised to hear about? The tea that you told me about, that's pretty surprising.
tea.
Any other interesting little tidbits that you can share with us that are mostly unknown?
Well, he invented the odometer in your automobile.
Really?
Yes. He was in Philadelphia, sitting and rocking in his rocking chair, which he invented, that particular rocking chair he did. And he was rocking it out in front of a store, and he was watching the carriages go by. And one would go by. It's a beautiful day in June, I'll never forget it, you know. And every turn of the carriage wheel, you noticed that when the carriage wheel made a complete turn, the carriage would go across the ground so far. He said, all I have to know is how many turns the carriage wheel's taken, and I know how far the carriage has gone. And so he invented the odometer. The original's in Smithsonian, Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And we carry pictures of it. It has 3 dials and it's attached to the axle and wheel of the
Amazing.
carriage.
The Boston Stone.
The Boston Stone, which is in Boston on Marshall Street, which is next to the Union Oyster House. There's a Boston Stone gift shop, and the stone that he used as a reference is right there. That's the narrow street there. He took and measured with his daughter Sally from that stone to Concord, Lexington, Sudbury, Wayland, Wilmington, and turned the notes over to General Washington at the beginning of the Revolutionary War.
Wow. How well received was Ben Franklin? You know, sometimes great thinkers are not very well received until much later on in their lives. Sometimes people who are genius aren't usually perceived that way until many years after their passing. Was Ben Franklin very well received for all of the many great things he did, do you think? Just your opinion?
Well, I think so, because he had a terrific sense of humor, you know, and he could talk to people with no problem. Any level, let it be kings, queens, poor people. He could talk to anyone at any level at all and make them feel comfortable. And he was a diplomat. He was a charmer.
Well, you seem to have a lot of his qualities. I see that's probably why you're doing so well with what you're doing. Is there anything final you'd like our viewers today to know, either about Ben Franklin or you, or how they can get in touch with you if they want you to come and enlighten them about Ben Franklin? How would they do that?
Well, we live in Andover, Mass. Yeah, 17 Gould Road, and my phone number?
Sure, go right ahead, and we'll put that up on the screen as well.
978-475-6632. And when you call, you'll get, hello, this is Benjamin Franklin, sometimes known as Dick Elliot.
Excellent, excellent. How often do you actually go out of character? Do you stay in Ben Franklin mode pretty much most of the time?
Well, certainly when I'm dressed as Ben
Yes,
Franklin. Of course,
yes.
it's hard for me not to, you know.
Right, I know, because I can see you slipping in and out
Yes,
of it.
I slip back in and
Yes,
out.
and I see that you have a lot of the same life philosophies he does, so you probably would be very good friends were he here today. I would hope that you would be.
Oh, I think so. There's no question about it. I believe in of all the good that he did, and he did plenty. We would not have won the war if it wasn't for Ben Franklin. He
Really?
borrowed the money. He turned over 3/4 of his fortune before he left, and he loaned it to him, but he never got it back, and he said, you can keep it, because
And a lot of other patriots
a
did the
lot of other
same.
patriots did too, and so forth, yeah.
I'll bet you he'd be pretty fascinated to know that someone like you were out talking about him and reliving all his great accomplishments. I bet that would be a pretty neat thing for Mr. Franklin. So I'm going to thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for
And
inviting
thank you
me.
both for coming and sitting under my hot lights in your period costumes. I appreciate that. Thank you for the work that you've done in the country, too, enlightening all the students and helping out with the USO. We really do appreciate it.
We're going to keep on doing the schools.
Excellent.
We do elementary, middle, and high.
Excellent.
And we, again, being Ben Franklin, we don't charge much. We keep
Okay.
it so it's affordable.
So they can keep their penny saved as the
Yeah,
penny earned.
we
I
keep-
get it.
we keep it
Well, that's
affordable.
excellent. Thank you so much, both of you. It was an honor to meet
Thank
you
you.
both.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching today. Just want to remind you, you've been watching Where's Wilmington here on WCTV. I'm Lisa Capalla, reminding you that if somebody asks you, where's Wilmington, you tell them right here and right here on WCTV. We'll see you next time.